everyone. So like I've probably teased before, yes, this is a two-parter. We did part one where we talked about on the final 5 episode. Now we're on the finale episode called No Regrets. And I do not regret making this a two-parter because, man, it is long. It's a lot of cover, and I couldn't be any more happier to be talking about this finale and how it ends. Well, I know one part, how it ends, it's really unfortunate, but nonetheless. So we get to the finale. It's come down to this. The final 4 with Big Tom, Ethan, Kim Johnson, and Lex. It's down to those 4, the last 4 Baron members standing, and it's really getting crazy. And it's really starting to get down to it now. It's just those 4 Baron members. They've been helping each other. They've known each other since day 1, and now they're at the end now. Well, not at the end, but, it's just down to those 4, and eventually it's going to be down to 2, and only 2 out of those 4 people are going to move on. Now, it has been said that Lex is angry at Big Tom because Big Tom was wanting to get rid of Lex because of his alliance with Brandon. And Lex tried not to confront, but, more like interrogate. I don't know which one is better, to be honest with you. I don't know which one is better. But Big Tom and Lex are out there working, picking up firewood. They're talking to each other about if it's true that Big Tom tried to get Lex out when he didn't have immunity. And Big Tom was being honest with, I've had those opportunities to where I could have voted you out. I would have just written an L, an E, and a K, an X, and it would have been simple, just like that. But he hasn't. He stayed loyal with them, and he ain't gonna shift anymore, or he needs to. And then Lex has been arguing that he has been honest with his votes. He's been loyal with his allies. He's going to play this game how he wants to, and he did not get carried by anyone. He got here on his own, and Big Tom the same way. We're all here because we got to this moment on our own, not by accident or by coincidence, or maybe a little bit of luck, but they got here because they earned it. No matter how much you justify it or make it up, they are there. It's those 4 that are there because they got here. They earned it. And if anybody argues that they didn't get here because they played unfairly or it was the pick of the draw, they say no way. They say no way. But yeah, they've had their little confrontation or conversation. Pick your poison. Pick your poison on what this was. Whether it's a confrontation or a conversation, pick your poison. But after that, they decided to take a nice little journey. And they left their camp for a while to go up to these really big rocks. And not like a mountain per se, but it definitely felt like you were climbing to the top of the mountain, like hiking up to it. The moment they got to the top, all 4 of them were just looking over at the land that they've been living on for the last 36 days. And they were stunned and amazed, and it really opened their eyes that they really did it. they did what they could to get this far with each other, and knowing how far it is getting to the end now, it's really crucial that they have to do whatever they can and find that energy, that drive in themselves to help get them further in this game in order to win. Whatever they can pick up and really take it forward, maybe they can make it. Hopefully. Now, we get into the immunity challenge. That's right, immunity. No more rewards. It's the last reward that happened in the last episode. We're now on the next immunity challenge. Now this challenge is all about your social relationships and how well you know people from the past. Now, this challenge happens at the Tribal Council. It's called Fallen Comrades. This is a challenge that occurred originally in Survivor Borneo, where they had questions relating to past contestants, like whose kids are these? Where is this person living? What occupation does this person have? Fun facts about their Survivor or interview or application. Fun stuff like that. We've seen it in the last 2 seasons. We're seeing it again this season. And the guys are already feeling that Kim Johnson might have an advantage because even though she isn't like the best physically in competitions, she does get along with people well, and she's one of the nicest beings you could ever meet out there. So it might come to her advantage if she gets this right. Only time will tell, though. Only time will tell. So we get to the challenge. Now, of course, we have the 5 jury members who are sitting there, who are watching. Lex hands back to immunity, hoping to win it again, if he can. Now, heads up, though. I'm not going to, perfectly recall every question and that has been asked throughout this challenge, but I'm going to give it my best. And if I do happen to get all of them, I realize it, yay me! As London Tipton would say. But anyway, the first question is, what was Frank's position in the army? Some of them said Lieutenant Private. I know Big Tom said Lieutenant Private. One of them said, I think Lex said Colonel. And a couple of them said Sergeant. Correct answer was Staff Sergeant. Nobody got it right, though. Even though they said Sergeant, they weren't particular about which sergeant. I know Ethan said Drill Sergeant, but that wasn't right. Next was in the archery competition, who was the first person to land a target? And the correct answer was Lindsay. Only Big Tom was able to answer that correctly. Next question was, who on their Survivor application says that flirting with men is a great advantage? Everybody guessed as correctly that it was Kelly Goldsmith. One of the next questions was, Jeff brought out a picture frame of 2 kids. And he asked them, who are these kids and whose are they? What are their names? Whose kids are they and what are their names? All of them guessed correctly that it was T-Birds, aka Teresa, and their names were Ellie and Tyler. Everybody got it right. Next question was, in which state and town or city is Jesse, a deputy sheriff. Everybody guessed correctly. Orlando, Florida. Now, next we have which Survivor contestant has a tattoo of a black widow spider? And for extra points, where is it located? Kim Johnson and Lex said Brandon on his back. Ethan said Brandon on his left ankle. And then Big Tom said Brandon on his butt. Yeah. Big Tom was really going for some brownie points there. But the correct answer was Brandon, and it was on his back. Okay. Next question was, who were Sage and Jocelyn Rose? Everybody answered correctly that they were Frank's kids. Everybody got it right. And then the last question. Out of all the Survivor contestants, which one did not have any piercings, including their belly button? The correct person was Kelly. And the person who got the most questions answered correctly was Kim Johnson. Kim Johnson and got all the questions right. She won immunity. However, that is not true though. It turns out that not only does Kelly have no piercings, Lindsay also has no piercings. And you know who answered that too? Lex. And after the game, Lex was given a consolation and for guessing that answer correctly, even though he didn't got the right answer, which they said that Kelly was the right answer. But yeah, that has been a common mistake. Well, not a common mistake. I'm not sure if that did happen throughout Survivor history. But that was a mistake, and nobody knew about it, and it was brought up, and, you know, Lex got a small consolation about it, and so did Big Tom too, for other reasons. But anyway, Kim won immunity. Kim is safe at Tribal Council, which is not so great for the other three boys. Now, we get into the vote, and it's not easy. It really isn't easy. But even though they've had their fun with each other and they stayed strong till the end, unfortunately, with 3 votes to 1, Big Tom is voted out and sent to the jury. Big Tom, it was a lot of fun watching you this season, being your good old country boy self and really getting the real fun of being out there on Africa, but it's your time to go, buddy. Now, we're down to the final 3. On day 38, and Jeff arrives at their camp early in the morning to inform them that their next immunity challenge is coming up soon, and that they need to follow him in order to get there. Now, before they approach to the challenge, they were informed that they need to go through the rites of passage, where the first station is a couple of tribesmen are waving their staff ups and down and asking the spirits of the land to forgive them for anything that they've done, anything that they said. And in tradition, they're facing north, there are fires at east and west of them walking through and never looking back, always looking forward. And as they pass them, they go through the torches of their fallen comrades, remembering each of them as they go by. And then finally, we get to this area where they're then blessed with a ritual, and they cover their faces with this like goat fat and some kind of liquid. They're given jewelry to wear, while a couple of her villagers celebrate with them and enjoying their new life that they've just discovered in Africa and will take with them for the rest of their lives. It's really such an interesting experience to go through, especially for those three, to go there in Africa and be given this cleansing ritual that I'm not saying it's nothing wrong against them, but I would definitely kind of feel a little bit nervous about it. And I'm not going to sound like Leslie here saying that I couldn't do it. It's against my religion and all that, but, you know, it would be an interesting experience to go through. And I know it was for those three finalists. And it was really fun at the end as they've walked through it all, and after they've been cleansed and all that, they all got to celebrate with the tribesmen and women of the village by jumping up and down really high, as high as they can, and then they got to like do this like skipping motion in a circle, and then they all stood in line, did this in like celebration, and because it's custom, you know. And it was really funny to see Lex be doing this, because he's like like he's listening to some kind of rock concert or some band that some guitar solo that's being performed by the Eagles, if that makes any sense. But yeah, after that, they then approached the final immunity challenge, called Hands on the Idol. This challenge was originated, again, in the very first season of Survivor Borneo. It's only happened once, and this is the second time that's happened. So basically how it works is this. Obviously, they had to keep one hand on the idol at all times without letting the other hand touch it, and they need to place their feet on two wooden logs without moving. If they step off, or if they touch the idol with their other hand, or if they let go, they are out of the challenge. Last person standing wins the final immunity. This is all about endurance and willpower, and if they can stand there long enough to be until the end, then they got a good chance of winning. Now, it's still early in the morning, therefore it hasn't gotten hotter yet, and it was around like 2 hours in, and it was up to 87 degrees, and it was still early in the morning, which means the sun hasn't fully risen yet, so we know that it was going to get hot. So we all know this. Ethan's an athlete. He's really focused and trying to like not lose concentration on this, because he really wants to get there to the end and wants to earn it in as much as he can. We know Lex is the physical comp beast that he is throughout the whole season, and he really wants to make it too. He feels like he deserves it, and by winning the final immunity necklace, it just solidifies that he got here on his own. Meanwhile, you got Kim Johnson, quite arguably the oldest person to ever, well, not the oldest, but the oldest person to last this long in this game. And she's still here. And the fact that she's standing here with these two young guns and trying to win immunity really speaks volumes. So we get a couple hours in, and Ethan, for just like 1 second, just lifts his leg, his back leg, and he just loses focus, and he was out of the challenge, unfortunately. You know, it's really hard in a challenge like that with all that endurance and being out there in an environment like that where it's just constant heat and trying to like stay as long as you can without trying to fall off or lose concentration. It's really hard. It really is. And we saw that with Ethan. That just leaves Kim Johnson and Lex left. Now Ethan's just standing by watching them, and he's also giving them a little bit of motivation too, which I'm actually pretty happy to see from Ethan. You know, even though he's out, he's still rooting for both of them to do their best. And Lex earlier has mentioned that he's been having troubles with his stomach. Earlier, he's been dealing with a lot of diarrhea lately. He's been going to the bathroom a lot. He had to get up 2 times while he was sleeping just so he can relieve himself and not feel any discomforts at all. And we started to see that it was catching up to him, and Lex, he got off his poles and he slid off, not slid off to where he got hurt, but you know, he fell off, and Kim Johnson, the oldest person left in the game, won the last immunity. This was a proud moment for Kim Johnson, and definitely couldn't be more happy for her, and it was really great to see. And you know, obviously the guys are very happy for her, but unfortunately it's just down to those guys, and one of them has to go, and one of them will go to a final 2 with Kim. It's a hard decision for her, definitely. And you know, if I were in that position where it was the final 3 and I had to choose between who I feel has to go with me to the final 3, it would be a hard decision, and hopefully it'll never come to that. I would prefer to keep it at the final 3 and try to fight it out and prove that I'm the best. Try to convince myself that I'm the best is the right word for it. And honestly, it would be a lot of pressure, but I know Kim Johnson's gonna do what she has to and go by her gut, and as this episode is titled, no regrets. But yeah, so we get the tribal council. Kim Johnson writes down one name on that parchment, and that one name will be the person who's going out and be the last member of the jury. The 14th person voted out as Survivor Africa, and the 7th and final member of the jury, Lex Vandenberg. Lex has been voted out due to his physical capabilities of winning challenges and being a strategic and social threat. And because Lex thought he deserved it more than anybody, whilst Ethan thought he didn't deserve. And I could see that at retrospective. So yeah, Lex is the last to be on the jury. We are now down to our final 2, Ethan and Kim Johnson. Those 2 are going to be at the final tribal council and convince the jury, now including Lex, if they have what it takes to earn the title Sole Survivor and the $1 million check to go along with it. Now, it would have been interesting to see if Lex had gone to the final tribal council, then would have Lex won, or maybe it would have been Kim that won. It would have had an interesting perspective. But no, our final two is Ethan and Kim Johnson. It's day 39, and they mark it down on that water tower that they have since since that one reward challenge of the pushing the boulders, which, by the way, was a rough challenge, but hard-earned. And they mark down day 38, they circle day 39, and they both sign their initials, EZ for Ethan's on, and KJ for Kim Johnson, signifying that they've done what they can. Now all that they had to do is win it all. They go to their final tribal council, and immediately the jury is there, and they first give their opening statements on why they deserve to win the title of Sole Survivor, and what they have done to prove that they've earned their shot to be here, their spot, not shot. And of course, the jury gets up and asks their questions. First was Brandon, who admittedly says that he's gonna have a hard time voting between them, and he didn't really get to know them a lot, and because they kept Frank around longer before him, and they got along with Frank more than him, he wanted to ask them who they feel as though, if not those two, who out of the jury deserve to be in the final two, who and why. Ethan said Lex is probably the most deserving, being out here because he is a good game player. And then Kim said Lex too. Now Brandon asked who they thought was the least deserving of being in the final two, and Ethan flat out said you. And I was like, ooh, did he just say that? Like, did he literally just say that? Like, okay, not saying that he's wrong. Like, Brandon was probably the least likely person to win that $1 million. Like who would vote for him after that? And then Kim Johnson honestly says Big Tom, due to what she perceived as him being sexist against women, but she then immediately apologized about it and said that she couldn't be any more wrong, and Big Tom took no hard feelings towards it. Next was I believe Kim Powers, and no, wait, it wasn't Kim Powers, it was Lex. Lex said, what would be the first noble thing or charitable thing that they would do if they won $1 million? Both of them answered some relating towards helping people with AIDS. And Ethan most notably says he would start a soccer foundation and helping these diamonds in the rough, as they said, and really give them an experience that would make them really happy and really help out a worthy cause. And Lex was very pleased to hear those answers. Next was Frank, who, while staying out in this environment, they learned about the Big Five: the rhino, the lion, the Cape buffalo, I believe elephant was. I know those big four: the Cape buffalo, the rhino, the lion, the leopard, and I think elephant was one of them. And so what Frank's question was, what are 5 words that best describes your game? Ethan said, honest, hard work, integrity, and I don't know the last word, but I know one of them is luck. And then, unfortunately, I can't be able to recall what Kim Johnson said to her as her answers for Frank, but he was satisfied. And next was Kelly Goldsmith, who felt as though they didn't really, even when they first started on Baran, that they didn't really want to get to know her all that much. And she then flat out says that she didn't feel as though Kim was really he good at this game, and she didn't think Ethan did well either. So in order to get her vote, she said pick a number between 1 and 1,000. Kim said 3. Ethan said 888. And next was Kim Powers, I believe. Her question was referring to who out of this game did you learn the most from, and who you didn't know a lot about. Kim Johnson said that she learned actually a lot about from Kim Powers, who at her age called off her wedding at the last minute, and she admits that being someone that young and willing to make a decision like that at her young age, while she didn't really get to say that much about a decision, and she finds that really encouraging and was really admiring something about that from someone like Kim Powers. And the person that she didn't really get to know a lot about was Big Tom. Not that she didn't have anything against him, but then Ethan was the person that Ethan learned a lot about was Teresa T-Bird, because of her life experience and how wholesome she is. And the person that he knew less about was definitely Kelly. He apologized about that and, wished that he had the opportunity to do that when he should have had the chance to. Next was Big Tom. Now, Big Tom had a question that was really, really interesting. His question was, if a hyena came into their camp and ate the mush that they had, and before he left, after he licked his rear end, and then left after that, let me ask you something. Did the hyena lick his rear end because it was an animal instinct, or because he really didn't like that mush? Now, Ethan answered by saying he thinks it was an animal instinct, and he himself thought that the mush was actually very good, and didn't really mind it as much as Big Tom did. Next was Kim, who said, and she did make the mush, and honestly believed that it was because it was an animal instinct. Finally was T-Bird. T-Bird asked, what was one big regret that they've had in this game? And she even opens up about her saying that she didn't tell Lex that she was the other person that voted with Clarence against him, which really opened a lot of eyes on the jury and to them as well. So Ethan answers by saying his... Actually, I don't know what Ethan said. It might have something to do with if honestly, yeah, I think Kim Johnson's answer was dang. I don't know, I guess there's not a lot they can say about what they've done. You know, they got here, they've played a game that they did, and they really tried their hardest, and not really be too bothered by their mistakes. I mean, yeah, it is a hard game to play, and you can't have really a lot of regrets about it. But I know if there were some things in the past that they could change and really could have helped their game, then they definitely would have done it. And I know Teresa was probably happy with her answers either way. So, the jury have asked their questions. Now they're going to take a moment to think about who they thought deserves their vote, and we'll see who the winner is. Now, I'm not going to lie. If I were to be in the final three, I would definitely need a lot of preparation with myself in order to prep myself for answering the jury's questions and what they had to ask me and what they thought of my moves and how well I could present my gameplay to them and say it in a way that makes me sound more intelligent, even though I am not the most intelligent person in the world. And overall, someone that they would respect and really see as somebody who's more equal to someone like them, who definitely played as hard as them, but didn't cut ties in them in a way that made them feel as though they can't be someone who you couldn't hate in the end. Because this is a game for $1 million. As much as you can hate somebody for making them lose out on that, this still is a game. You can't have hard feelings towards them. You know, just shake their hand, congratulate them, and, you know, be glad that they got to know them. So we get into the votes. Brandon votes for Kim Johnson because he first was going to vote for Ethan just to really annoy Frank, but Ethan made the stupid move by drilling Brandon on his own question by saying he was the least deserving. That was a bad move, Ethan. So Kim Johnson earned his vote because he honestly thought she deserved it. Next was Kim Powers, who voted for Kim Johnson. Then next was Big Tom, who voted for Ethan, and he spelled it E-A-T-H-E-N because he didn't know how to read or spell. And he was just really getting tired of Kim's constant babbling, apparently, and for once he wanted to say shh, which I'm not gonna lie, seems like a harsh moment from Big Tom, but he voted for who he thought deserved it. And then Kelly Goldsmith rehearsed a line from the movie The Graduate, and I don't remember what the number was, but the closest person to that number was Ethan. I know the first number was 5. I know that much, like it was 500 and something. So Ethan has 2 votes, Kim Johnson has 2 votes, and then next vote was for Ethan. Now, it takes 4 votes to win, and there have been times, the last 2 seasons, where it's been split and it only came down to one last vote, which Richard and Tina got the win from. Now, is it going to be the same situation here? Because Ethan only needs just one more vote in order to win. So far, he's got 3 votes. Kim Johnson's got 2 votes. So one more vote could seal that win for Ethan. Jeff reads the next vote. The winner of Survivor Africa is Ethan Zahn. Ethan Zahn is a professional soccer player, and I couldn't be more happy for him. Ethan was honestly a good-hearted, genuine guy who was good in the challenges and didn't really like to show off much about it, and he was true to his alliances without being conniving or backstabbing about it. And he honestly, he and humbly felt as though he didn't deserve to win. But he did in the end, which is great for him. I'm really happy for him. Now, for those of you who are wondering, after Survivor ended, what did Ethan do after that? Ethan actually, he opened his own charity soccer camp group called Grassroots Soccer. I'm sure you guys can find it on Instagram or find it on Ethan's Instagram page and learn more about it. But it really is such a fun organization and really good cause. And I know Ethan has been having his challenges that he's been dealing with. But recently, though, he's been doing okay recently. I'm really happy with how his life is turning out for him. Meanwhile, you got Kim Johnson, who did come up in runner-up spot, which, by the way, runner-up spot, even though they didn't win $1 million, they won $100,000, which is like one tenth of $1 million. So, you know, it's still a good consolation prize. Which, by the way, so when Kim Johnson answered Kelly correctly in that one and Fallen Comrades question about who had no piercings, it was Kelly, but it was also Lindsay, which Lex got correctly. And as a small consolation, he too got a $100,000 consolation prize, along with Big Tom, who got voted out later at Tribal Council, instead of the regular consolation prize that would be given to the 3rd and 4th placers. So, you know, a little fun, interesting fact, and needs to be brought up. And sadly, unfortunately, you know, we did get like a nice Survivor reunion special at one point, and even a couple of years beforehand this year, we got a Survivor reunion where a couple of the castmates got together and had like a Zoom call reunion with each other and talked about some fun facts. And unfortunately, again, this year, we lost Kim Johnson. It's hard, and it would be hard for me watching this season and trying to get over the fact that she's gone, and I know her family's probably really missing her by now, but I know that she's happy that she got to live the life that he did, and happy that she got to go on this adventure. But as much as I hate to say goodbye to Survivor Africa, as one season ends, another begins. So stay tuned next week when we start Season 4 of Survivor, called Survivor Marquesas. And thank you guys so much for watching this. It's over. Survivor Africa is over. We have our winner, Ethan Zahn. And now we're moving from the African savannah and back to the beach when we go to Nuku Hiva in Tahiti in the Marquesas. I'm excited for what's going to be shown here. There's definitely going to be a lot of twists, a lot of turns, and definitely a lot of blind sides. Well, not sure how many, but only time will tell. But until then, Thank you guys so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed being outsmarted, outclassed, and outspoken with the Survivor Savant podcast. This is Nathan Newport, signing out.